Click, crackle. This is Snappleback Value Josephine, petering my salt in the hopes of explosive results. It's briar-fronding day here at the surgery kennel, and all house bats and worm riders are out in full fish to flop around on the wet, wet ground. Salivation sends a savage signal to womb raiders, clock tumblers, and wheel delegates that the porridge oats are far too viscous to enshrine a dietary standard we all could gloat over. Indeed, other avenues of approach must be assumed if we are to have any hope at all of declension footings and booting celery. And my personal conviction is that rodeo standards have been written raw in the news for tyrant clauses, in the finest print resolvable only with the finest milled lenses in all of Christendom. I popped pirates into my hatch and buried the cabin under winter waves. Bye-bye pirate shackles. Hello, hello, pirate imbroglio forts. I held an apt fortress finder, an avid cabin feverist, in a resplendent cellar for over 2 decades, before the decay set in, and the decay set in. His memory was also decayed. 2 marbled columns. Later, I was laying filigree when the wire branching fell off to me suddenly. Taking an instinctive and adept step back, I adroitly dodged the anointed assassination method, a bust of inaction and inarticulate fractional beekeeping slander, and elk dander shakers. Fanning out like an iceberg, I flashed my credentials and burnished my Apollo and Woken. Stars winked into being as I scrubbed. This sky-polished wax varnish surely works a treat, I noted in phonetic log Alphedra. We pranced after that, not quite smug, but certainly bolstered, when a holstered epidemic of drench horses, trench huggers, and framing crises sodden with lineaments. Twitch Bradley left his stamp near it, and his waffle tread blanched considerable. His blessing pattern dove downwards for flame brandishing and Jonathan Brandis marketing shop opportunities. We clocked the hearse at 17 cubits before LIDAR showed the focal ground truth. On ninth planet spun in the nether plane of our own slower solar sewer standards, and slab mattress shelf varnish, and crabbed handwriting clamped down hard with hoity-toity trammels, and trendy tandy computer terminal tremors, and Amiga amalgams grazed in butterscotch baudrates, and clown scalps, and mime pelts, and radish hats. We fried scampi and damp pansy harps, and opportune tarped tarot clods, and divination clouds, and clots of harm and hectoring pressures, collapsing unilaterally from above. And if that isn't the definition of perdition's howl and remorse, then I have never tasted the most basal of these flame embargoes, nor tempest tashefs, than the next most recent common law elf minister or confidential delving hole filled with stake barricades and spike centralia. In atypically vicious form of verdant viscosity, all trees slimed simultaneously and ensconced those present in a defunct vault of ribald tawdries and tactless tracts written during long jail stays by the damned. I held harbor in a huddle and split the atom for mass, sharing the results with a global public rife, with defeatist Breedleys and motion features shorn of spirit and velocity, frozen in time to a knelling bell level of delving powder and shelving hammocks. We credit each voluminous prowess purpose with a fractious gleam and a fricative bent that drills plosively through the self-man's vowels like a snake of flame winding a course through ice and bowels. Harm harmonica shredded through bends and hung in the air like a flame of furious lionesses. He brawled northward, blatant crater through the mountains in time signature array, organically enough to satiate the moribund cramps, shielding his inner sanctum from the harshest of the depredations of the cosmic rays. A karmic haze of banana shackle fracking Rogers and bandana oogling logging flogger crackhead Richards and teal pooling cream Redricks and bench Randys. We carved a sled out of Winch Stevens and Brush Thomases and multiplied the broom cornstalk ferries by the minimum allotment of cross-tunneling and wheat networking and puzzle rumbling bum stethoscopes that can measure a fly's heart by worms from across a denuded room. Dubbed the Great Tumbling by invisible critter scientists, a news leaker from Planet 5 news-ditched the hard copy and admitted that the grass lining in the municipal garbage contract was made of human livers. After all, this prompted a mass sell-off in the meat markets and Tomcat missile reduction galleries across the northern limitation, and precipice towers shook to the cores of its foundation in the ensuing tumult. I had a rapid response team ready, standing by, so my personal cannibalism chef was able to get some farm-fresh human flesh sizzling on my plate before 8 Central, 3 p.m. Ocean Time. I crammed the disc biscuit in, because in those days we had caddies full of grilled cheese you wished to pop the CD-ROM into, and we thought that was old, never suspecting the Rommy old thing itself would a pointless historical footnote scant years later. Why, pray tell, did us hard-working youth of 1943 pay the monthly price of a music streaming service for every album we bought? Capitalism. We poured paper route money after meaningless plastic, seeking for the one true wave. We found it at last, and sank back into the loam, dead as a doornail and criminally apprehensive about our ability to apprehend criminals. It could easily be said by some that thou art a plasticine porter, ghosts hopping around in a bicameral forest filled with oceanic valves and pseudopods extruding from smooth, featureless meat in a way that boils your solid with fear and takes one toll after another from your mother's purse when she weren't looking. She smirked a lot, but she didn't know we saw her tiptoeing through our rooms with meat cleavers and dire elves, a significant amount. You must have spoken tersely of such mitings at our glance cavalry, because Carcass Stevens has to haze his initiate minions at 6 on the dollar, 5s on the hour, because the purple won't be having to do with those things after the tarantula incident of 16 Stephanie 7, because burning hurts lots to these kids. It isn't a safe way to accumulate fatal trauma, and that's a freaking factoid. I branched out and branched again, and soon tree roots bruised your Adam's apple, and that isn't why we base our Tigret mulch on soup or salves. We crash pocket steaks and crushing weevils broadwise for temperature reprove, and broom dash crush tags, and match bakings, and crush creeping clatter canines, and cranberry creepers, and crush charcoal, and choke coaches, and latch flashing suspension for souls, and gargle oddities splayed barren before me like rotisserie breads, and beveled plenum briberies fouled up by crowing rooster, barking harshly at heathen ministers in the salacious basement cranium of the barrel treachery right bosom reckoners, reachable at preachers' corners, phlebotomy, cradle here, and tunneling crustacean encroachment there, huddling muffled dust runnels and funnel partridges, credo crystals mapped shards of scribbles and pebbles worth of bibulous ribbing, and hackneyed harshing of the chrysalis creditors. We sharded again and again, but couldn't replicate their findings, splines digging into our fingers like brutal slivers, and we silvered the Bronze Age as agents of the Donk Lord at that juncture. But nothing seemed to work it like a Bolivian bagel. So we finagled a pilfered wallet, omelet scarfing scuffle, scofflaw to plunge the parody-pestering probity praxis and practical Molly effects units, and prepossessing post-processors, available to the surly units in charge of the depth flare flex fossiling and fire fending off that blends top surgeons at Bronson's Peak, the last mapped spot on the dark map I bought of the light web for 60 billion cryptocroner, the most of the valuable form of fiscal asset annuity wealth, management monies and funding options for startup in combinator repurposing, hedge cold wedge diatomic, pony prodding metal taters and baker wastrels, and funko pestles, and pedestal halo cramming apathy swoons, and morking gauntlets, and mincing risk assessment critters with shrinking divestments and vested interests in respecting cloth and collar. That's why I keep poking the elephant in the nostril, flaring up a bit for focus, and smelting down into molten soaplessness.